big Willie actually is.
Perhaps the presence of Willie and the Panthers looking at his imposing frame.
I'm a 25-minute man. Oh, you got skill, son!
Uppercut right hand by Big Willie.
Too fancy for you!
You're good.
Welcome to episode number 23 of the Take with Willie and Iain. William, we are brought to you by bettingsite.com.au. They love us, we love them. I love you. Do you know who I love the most though, Will?
Who's that?
We are blessed with greatness tonight. We have got what I think is probably Australia's greatest male track Olympian of the modern era. He's not only that, he's probably the best bloke that we've spoken to on this show. He's a very good friend of yours. Yeah. I won't go through all of his awards because, you know, he's a silver medalist at an Olympic Games. He's a gold medalist at a Commonwealth Games. He is a phenomenal athlete. And the Olympics are on, Will, and we thought, why not go straight to the top?
Yeah, Johnny Steph's, one of my closest mates, and I can't speak highly enough of him. He's a very humble man. He does a lot of things with a lot of grace, and we get along really well. Our relationship goes way back, and I'm happy to call him a friend, especially times like this. I called him. I called him today. I said, "Do you want to jump on?" He goes, "Yep, no worries." So that's a testament to what sort of bloke he is. He just do anything for his friends. So, he's very particular about who he does talk to. I think that's why we have such a great bond together, because we've been through some shit together. And we've come out the other side. So it's great to get him on the show like tonight and speak about the Olympics. It's the biggest event in the world at the moment. So, he's been there, he's done it, like he's lived it. And, that's stuff that we can only talk about, where this guy's, he's been in the finals of 400. He's won Commonwealth Games, like silver medal, like, you know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous. He's just very humble the way when I talk to him and stuff like that. So it's great to get him on the show.
He can't be that particular because he's mates with you. So he's particular in most cases. He's particular. Hopefully,
I got him on a bad night.
Well, hopefully this is going to work. So let's bring him in now. The great man, John Stephenson. Johnny, are you with us?
This is the first time, huh? Yeah.
Here he is. How are you, mate?
Good, guys. How are you?
Not bad. What's happening?
We really appreciate you joining us, mate. It's
a pleasure, boys. It's always, I think we did the first podcast probably about a year and a half ago, and it's good to see you guys. You've gone from strength to strength, and it's nice to be back on.
Man.
So Willie's got a fair black book of
ex-athletes
ex-athletes.
I'm leaving.
Black athletes in that black book. What's going on here?
This different sort of black book. But mate, we went straight to the top with you. How did you blokes actually meet? How did you guys become friends?
I'll take it from here. I think it was about 2013. I was still playing. This is my second stint in the NRL. We were at Jeff Fennick's house. And I never met John before, ever. I only saw him in the papers, and we probably had a different perception of each other. We didn't know. I didn't know how he rolled or how he thought about me, and probably vice versa. So we just connected straight away, and we bounced off each other. And then we were talking about athletics and then rugby league and how obviously how important speed is to the NRL and how to have genuine speed. We're talking about players and this and that. Like, are they lineal runners? How are they good with the ball? How different it is. So we just chopped it up really good. And then I was playing with Newcastle, and I was playing some really good football up there about 2013-14, and I reached out to John. So I was 33, 34. So I reached out to John because I knew how important it was to maintain speed as a big guy. I've always said that. And all the young kids now, it's so hard to stop a big man with speed and footwork. These kids, everyone's pretty blessed with good genetics, especially the Polynesians, but you need to learn how to run, the biomechanics of it all. And John's a specialist in that. Like he broke it down for me so much easier than any other like speed coach. Like he had it all, because I think he's lived it. but he's obviously a student of the game. Like he loves rugby league, but he loves the form of running, you know. So I was coming down from Newcastle and doing some sessions with John, knowing that, like, you know, if I'd have done my ACL or anything like that, I would have been in massive trouble with the game. But I knew how important it was for me to stay on top of my game at that age. And I knew speed was very important. So I used to do a lot of work with John, like off what I was doing, you know. So that's what kept me at the top for so long. You know, I was 33, 34. And then we've just kept in contact ever since. And we've grown such a great bond. And I'm very privileged to call him, one of my best mates. So the dude's a genius. Like he just, like whatever, you know, when he teaches people how to run, like even I go to some of his sessions now, I'm learning this shit all the time. It's brilliant.
That's nice. You never speak about me like that. It's about a 5-minute rap.
That's a big rap. I don't know how I feel them shoes, mate. You set me up for failure, being really like, Jesus, brother.
The truth.
No,
uplift our athletes, man.
No, I appreciate that, and it's very kind of you to say those words, Willie. Willie and I did meet at Jeff Fennick's house, and we did form a bit of a bond through sport. And I think the great thing about Willie, which I always loved about him, he always was in pursuit of 1%ers. And I at the time there was a stigma with not only rugby league players, but especially with Willie, that he was a guy that, you know, had a whole lot of talent and, you know, didn't manage his talent well on and off the field. Like they just thought that he lucked into all these beautiful ball positions, lucked into beautiful field positions. But little did they know that Willie was always in pursuit of 1%ers and trying to be the best on the field. And he didn't really give a shit what anyone else thought. He just made sure he took care of business when he stepped on the field. And I really love that, because in my career, a lot of people thought that I was out of control, that I lucked up onto the track, but they didn't know behind the scenes. I was a student of the game. I moved to America. I lived in a car. We talked about that before in the last podcast. And now I try and give back to all these young kids that maybe not have that opportunity that I had. And not only teach them about the biomechanics of running, on linear running and agility, and how you can use it, and how to stay injury proof. And if you're injury proof, you get a longer season. If you're longer season, you get a bigger contract and all that sort of stuff. But also the high performance side of elite sport. And then you're seeing NRL, AFL are really becoming more and more elite from back in the days 20 years ago, where you just played, you know, because you love the sport and then you worked your day job. Like now, the game is just ruthless. The way up when Willie educated me from 2013 on this game. You know, I've been blessed to have him in my corner. So when I'm working with another kid, look, Willie's so elite, I can go, man, what's this? What's that? Why is that happening? Why is it? Not only for the speed agility side, but the high performance side of professional sports. So I think there's a language that pro athletes learn to speak to one another. And I think it becomes such a small niche group of individuals that you cannot wait till you get next to somebody who has been there, because you can rap like that with them. You can't rap like this with a normal, someone who plays club grade rugby or someone who watches the game, because they just don't understand. I think that's the reason why you get a lot of players get a lot of backlash, whether it's through their social media, whether it's through the news, because unfortunately, you know, the people that play club rugby, because they've played one or two games, they understand what pro sport is, and it's completely different. The game is still a normal pitch. There's still a 20 meter line. There's still the two goalposts, and there's still that nice oval ball. But no, that how your makeup through a season, through a career, is just it's something which you can see it break people, and you can see it make people, and normally you see it break more than what it does make. So that's a quick. I hope that was a quick summation on sort of what our relationship and how it's grown. And
it is funny, because I think 20 years ago, when I was like coming through, and coaches would say to you, you're not quick enough or whatever. And so the only way you could sort of get around that was trying to get fitter, but it doesn't really change the fact that you're not getting faster by getting fitter. So I think over the last, especially the last 10 years, the fact that there's sprint coaches in rugby league has made the game so much better, because they're learning about biomechanics, learning about how to run. There wasn't that around back 20 years ago.
It's very important that NRL clubs and AFL clubs have a look at guys like John Stephenson, because they are now, because they know how important speed is to the game. But then you've got to implement speed into like when we said lineal speed, that's just like get the ball and just run straight. Like guys like Josh Addo-Carr and all that. He's got lineal speed, but he's got speed when he steps. You know what I mean? And he's done some work with John, And like these guys, he can go to another level. Like all these guys, we've got fast guys in the NRL. We've got it all through the game. But sometimes they look fast at training and then you get them with a ball. I'm like, where was that? I don't understand. And so that's where a guy like John can come in and teach you how to run, obviously the linear way, but with the ball and everything, because he understands the biomechanics of the game and how to run and the hips and everything. Like, it's such a, like anyone who knows anything a little bit about running, you'd be like, you would understand what we're talking about with his hips and the shifting and all this kind of stuff and his toes. It's just like, it does your head in. But like, how important, John, do you think that speed is to not just AFL, NRL, all sports? You'd be in high demand with what you're doing now, you know, with your academy and everything like that. Tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty blessed, Will. Like, I choose who I want to work with. And I know there's certain personality types, which I think breed success, which I think you need to have. I also have a kids academy that I work with the kids a bit younger, and we start to implement and breed, like plant the seeds of understand that success very, very early. I think when it comes to speed, agility, it's not just about going from A to B fast or A, B, C, D, G, and then you end goal fast. It's more about, especially for pro athletes, we're talking about pro athletes, not about, so for the kids, it's about teaching the biomechanics and the understanding. So no one teaches that because everybody can run fast, but sprinting is not a natural. You learn to sprint. So we teach that biomechanics when they're younger. For the pro athletes that haven't learned it, we teach them more the ability to gain half a meter at each play. So it's not about you need to go from point A to point B fast, because then you can become an Olympian. These guys have got 10 other things they got to worry about, if it's skills, if it's set plays, if it's weights, whatever, if it's media, whatever it is. So they've already got enough on their plate. It's more about giving them the ability that when they're training and they're doing repetitions, that they're able to maybe cover, instead of 10 kilometers a game at 9 meters per second, they can cover 10.5 kilometers a game at 9 meters a second. They've gained 500 meters against someone else in the team, which means that then their analytics on how they're through the season is higher because this is what our club rugby is now. It's not just who's the favorite. They got data on all these athletes. That's why you see him wearing a little backpack. And then they go, geez, and now he gets another year in the club. That's another 180,000, maybe another 300,000, maybe another $800,000 contract. That sets his family up. This is big. Just to come to a couple of sessions a week. Like to me, that's what you worked out a long time ago. It's
invaluable. Yeah.
That's why you're worth 39.2 million. You know what I mean? Because
a season.
Per season. You know what I mean? Because you did all that. And I learned that because I moved to America. I realized where I was lacking as an athlete, why Australians couldn't compete the rest of the world. I went to America, stole all their tricks, implemented it, now bring it back home to give it to our Aussies.
Well, mate, speaking of speed, the Olympics have been. This is actually one of Australia's.
Just to cut you off. So just to cut you off, where a lot of the sprint comes from America, living there for 10 years, is from NFL. If you have a look at how many players now crossing over for AFL back into track and field and vice versa is huge. A lot of the college systems use our track coaches to help the college teams like the Bruins and USC and all the great college football teams use the track and field coaches. So when you think, this guy just runs from A to B in a straight line, no, we do a lot of the plyometrics and a lot of the strengthening of the ankles and the knees for years in linear running. We do from the agility side that they've learned from thousands of athletes that they've destroyed in the NFL. Yeah. So I've been truly blessed to have that exposure, and then also having Willie when it comes to football down here. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. It's actually, you raise a good point, because normally, traditionally, the States have been so strong in the track events. There really hasn't been that many American athletes that have taken, like if you look at the women's 100, it's been the Thompson Hera from Jamaica, and the 200 as well. She did the double. You've got the Italian Jacobs who won the 100. They've got that young kid in the 200, that 17-year-old who looks like he could be the future of sprinting. But they really haven't won as many medals on the track as you would expect for a country that's dominated for so many years.
Yeah, I've got two schools of thought on this. It's very hard. I mean, this whole COVID thing has really sort of changed your cycle and how you get ready for Olympic Games. American athletes, especially the male American athletes, man, and this is what I got off them, are big time performers. You know, and that has really been taken away at the games. Let's not lie to ourselves. I think the broadcast doesn't show what the real feeling is at the games at the track. You've had some sensational performances because there's some sensational athletes, like in the 4 hurdles with Carsten Warren breaking the world record by almost a second, which we'll talk about that later, which is just absolutely crazy. But to answer your question with the males, I really think, if you look at Trayvon Bromell, he should have won the 100. He's been running fast since December. I think for him, this is his coming out party this year, where he's had a lot of injuries leading up. And for him, winning national trials in Oregon was probably his Olympics. By the time he got to the games, he was spent. So that's more of just getting their periodizing and their timing wrong, which is the reason why they're not running well. If you really look at Ronnie Baker, Trayvon Bromell, Area Knight in the 200, Noah Lyles in the 200, Fred Kersey did come second in the 100. Fred Kersey switched from the 400. It's the first time he's run in the 100 year at the Olympic Games at a major championships. No, they're doing just fine. It's just, I think, with the way COVID was all set up, they just didn't shoot the right bullet at the right time. They chose trials and where, say, which opened the door for Marcel Jacobs, opened the door for Su Binping, opened the door for Andre de Grasse, which he's always a big time performer. So I don't think there's anything to worry about US sprinting. I just think that their periodization, their timing, and their peak for Olympics was completely wrong, and they've totally cocked it up.
So do you think what you just said before, you said something interesting, like the NFL and basketball, they're taking their athletes real quick because they're coming out of college and the opportunity out of college to turn pro straight away, and you're an instant millionaire. You got to understand that, why would you stay in track and field for another 3 or 4 years, or just beat your head against the wall? Unless you're an Olympic champion straight out of college, it doesn't happen. So you're getting these athletes really quick. That's probably why they're losing a fair few in the last 2 or 3 Olympics. Obviously Usain Bolt, your boy, he's just dominated. But I think that's, we're taking, you go see Tyreek Hill for the Chiefs. He's running 10s. Like Julio Jones, all these guys could have been track athletes, but they chose NFL and basketball. Like LeBron and all these dudes, they can run track, but why would you do that? You're just going to go, I'm going to turn pro. I'm going to do pro, and then I'm going to just be, and they'll earn millions straight away instead of that one athlete at one event, 100 or 200. It's pretty boring.
It's similar, Will, with that AFL, NRL. The bright lights are just too bright for track and field. But the thing is, what we're learning here very quickly, and kids are learning that they're doing their school carnivals when they're 18, 17, 18 at school, and they're dominating that because they got good sporting prowess. Then they go to football and AFL. They go through 2-3 seasons, and they're realizing, shit, what did I do right to get me here? And they go, oh man, I got to do a bit more running. By that time, the club puts restrictions on them, like you said, and they go, I can't go run because if I get hurt, if they get a shit coach, which unfortunately there's thousands of them, they can get hurt, and then now they're really in trouble. So that's where you got to have that understanding that a football AFL, and they're never going to run 100 meters. So why make them run 100 meters in training? That's ridiculous to me. I don't understand that. So, I just think, with the AFL, with the NFL in America, what helps is the collegiate system for track and field. Yes. I think that really helps in all their sports they have there.
And I suppose, sorry to cut. And I think it happens probably more like the NFL will be poaching all the track stars as well. The track stars are going, okay, well, I'm going to leave my options open. But NFL's going, this dude's running 10s. Let's try and get him wide. That kind of stuff.
But look at this, Willie. Look at this. These NFL kids are going to college, majority of them. They're getting what we're trying to offer now in Australia. What I'm trying to offer these NFL, NRL young kids and pro athletes, right, is they're getting that by default. So they're training in the college, right, and they're working their biomechanics in college. By the time they go pro, all the job is being done for the team. So the team. Sorry, guys, I just got another call coming through. So the team knows that they're coming with the right tools. Before they get to being a pro. Up. And that's what we're trying to help when I work with the younger kids, the 12-year-olds and stuff now, is by the time they become and want to become a pro athlete and the pro team gets it, they go, where did you learn? How come you can do those drills so well? Why are you running so most of their job is done for them, which then gives that kid a better opportunity to have a longer lasting career.
Yes. Well, so why do you think, why do you think Australia has taken so long to implement something like that, like with our speed into all these professional sports? We always seem to be about 10 or 15 years behind America, which they lead everything, but we're only starting to get into it now, where speed kills everything. Why is it taking so long, John? Why haven't you been in teams 10 years ago, or whilst you were sprinting? It's just I don't understand. Why didn't I see John Stephenson in 2008? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it.
The same reason why we're still in lockdown, brother. I don't know. Yeah. I think that ideology is training. Unfortunately, there's two sides of running. There's the science side and then there's the art side of running. And there's two sides of playing football, right? There's the science side of football, which we see a lot of the indigenous athletes struggle with, or your athletes have flair, put it that way. And then there's the art side, which we love when we see Latrell Mitchell take the ball from the dead ball line, or not the dead ball, from the try, from the try line,
goal line,
and a goal line to score a try. That's what we love about watching players like that. So this is something which we've been bogged down with the science in everything in most of our sports, because that justifies a coach's role and position, that they're doing a good job when they can use science to justify why they're there. You can't justify the arts and the feel side of something. So I think just by culturally, we've always lent on science and lent on the Eastern European stuff and the European and the British way of doing things, where we're now learning, because the world's becoming small and the mediums of social media of YouTube is now got the kids going, hang on a minute, man. I'm learning now the art side of my sport, that it's feel too. And if you can marry the two together really well, you can get a pretty bulletproof athlete. And Americans, don't get me wrong, Americans are looking at the science that we've done and are implementing some of that now into the art side of the sport. It's funny. I watched this. This is pretty funny. I watched this. There's this guy called JL. He cooks barbecue in Phoenix. And he's got the best barbecue in Phoenix. We're talking baby back ribs. We're talking like beef short rib. And he goes straight up. He goes.
Ziggs. That's Ziggs' favorite.
Yeah. He goes. And Ziggs will like this. He goes. The Anglos cook with science. The black people, we cook with feel and love and art. And that was what I got taught when I went to America. When I went to America and started training, and that's not creating a racial divide. It's just culturally what we've learned. And if you can combine the two, you get a pretty cool freaking athlete, man.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, Johnny, I think Australia's, the great white hope is Rowan Browning, and he actually came from a rugby union background and couldn't make it in rugby, and his coach picked up on the fact that he
had to tackle.
Technically pretty good. Yeah, exactly. It's different. So he was technically pretty good. And his coach, who was an Australian triple jump champion, I think Andrew Murphy, said, I think you should start running. And that's where he's come from now. If you look at him competing on the world stage, and he's run at the Olympics, he's run a 10:01 and he's run a 10:09 in quick succession. He's only 23 years old and the sprinters mature lately. Do you see enough in 7 years' time he's going to actually be there and abouts?
No. That's a real loaded question because it takes so much. It takes so much to compete in that. So there's 4 blue ribbon events at track and field: the 1, the 4, and the 1500. And those events are just hardcore, right? Rowan, I think we got too excited with Rowan. I think the reason why there was apprehension in my ability to answer your question is that we got really excited in something where that was what you're meant to do if you go to a championships. He's run at the championships before, and he's made the mistake of not making a final in 2018 in Gold Coast. His heat run was flawless for him, and he caught a lot of big guys napping. And when you run a personal best in 100 meters, or when you run a personal best in track, and especially in sprinting, your nervous system is cooked because he's done something that the body's never done before. So it's very hard for it to come and replicate that the next day, let alone go faster. So when you go to a championships, you've got to pick what bullet you fire at what times. It doesn't change in rugby league. It doesn't change in AFL. The taper is the taper. You know what I mean? How you taper into finals, how you taper to a grand final, that doesn't change. Everybody has their formula. And he just shot his bullet in the heat. And he had to. He had no choice. But he's now got to learn to have 3 bullets when you go to a championship. It's what I learned in Helsinki in 2005. I made my first final in the 400 meters. And I got my doors blown in the final. And I remember standing at the line for the final, completely zapped. Like, physically great. I was young. I was 21 years of age. But emotionally, I was cactus. And I learned that day. 6 months later, I won Commonwealths and beat the same guys that beat me. Because I learned from that day what I needed to do, not physically, emotionally. So it's something with Rowan where what's difficult now is he's been running fast for a long time. And I look at a career as being 10 years in sprinting, right? And even in pro sport. So he's in year really 5 or 6. His chronological age is 23. But when you're tapping the body out at that high level all the time, when injury starts to creep in, you can't get consistency, then you can't get your taper right. It becomes extremely hard, if that is your best, to be able to replicate that at a championships come 3 years' time. That's 3 years away now. Will he run fast in 3 weeks? I think he can run 9. I think if he goes to Europe now, gets his mind right, gets a good tailwind, he can run 9. Can he run 9 again next year? Probably. But then now we're in the territory now. You've been at the top for your ability for now 3-4 years. So it becomes hard. Now, I'm not spitting on the guy, hating on the guy. It's my job to educate people about the game so we don't mark this kid inappropriately, because we've got to mark him to what he's achieving. And what he achieved was brilliant. He did what he had to do, but he just didn't have the bullets. He didn't have the bullets for the semi. You see? The 10.09 wasn't that bullet. And then even if he made it through to the final, the 10.09, he needed a 9.8 bullet. We saw that, right? He needed a 9.9 bullet to medal. Not even a medal, to even get in the top 5. Yeah. So it's like you got to learn these things. And now your question is, Jay, time, can he get it with time? My answer to that is he's already had a long time running relatively fast. So he's going to have to really pick his races wise, take enough rest throughout every season to give his body longevity, and then he'll be able to maybe, I think, match it with these big guys. It's going to look similar to Patrick Johnson and Matt Shervington, their career. That's my prediction.
I was looking at you mentioned the 400 being the blue ribbon, one of the blue ribbon events, and I saw Steve Solomon.
Who would run that?
I think was,
what an idiot!
Oh, it's the Pits. I saw Steve Solomon. He was in your team when you won the medal. Was he, Steve Solomon? No, he was too young then. But he's finished the race and had a big spew. And I thought, who does this? Who does this for fun? It looks.
It's the worst event. It's the worst. I chose poorly. I just wasn't. I realized, I swear, I chose poorly. And then I realized, I knew I could probably become, and this is not being conceited, I could have probably become Australian champ in the 100, but I would never be world class in the 100. So I chose an event because I always want to be I want to be world ranked and win world medals. So I chose an event where I knew I could, and the 400 was that event. But I was never going to be world class in the 1 and the 2 ever. So I know that because I just don't have the physical attributes, I believe, to be that. And then I've done DNA tests and all that sort of stuff in my career to realize that I made the right choice. But yeah, the 400 sucks balls, man. Like it's just the worst event.
You gotta have balls to run that, man.
Well, it's a long sprint, right? I mean, when I won Commonwealths, I ran 10.9 for the first 100, 10.5 for the backstretch, 10.7 for the top curve, and 11.9 coming home. So, if you look at that, I mean, some people try and run 10.5 for 100. We had to try and learn to run 10 seconds for 4 of them. You know what I mean?
So I can't run 11.9.
Let's look at that. Let's talk about that. So you just broke down that 400 meters into increments. Like, let's talk about crowds in Tokyo and what part did it take? You know what I mean? Like, coming around that last bend on a 400 in an Olympic, does that crowd get you home? Or was that already completely blocked out from the 100 to the 300? You know what I mean? Like, you're just in the zone. And when you come, you can't tell me when you hit that straight and you see everyone, 100,000 people going, yes, you don't care what you're doing. If you're in front, that's got to give you some extra juice, right? Like that we took that factor out. How much did you feel sorry for the athletes? And would it have played a part in some people in their performance overall? Especially just say little things like long jump, triple jump. They're all going, clap, clap. No one's clapping. There's 10 people in the crowd. I don't know. I just think on your event, I know when you hit those bends and stuff like that, and even Kathy Freeman, when they come around, man, you got that whole crowd. You're talking 100,000 people just looking at you. Come on, man. You can't tell me it's not. You can't tell me it's not.
The women's 15's on. We got Australian in this event. Boys, you looking all right now. Sorry,
Is
I
that
can't
McSween?
multitask. No,
that
this is
McSween
the,
running now?
this is the women's 15.
Oh, it's a women's 15.
Yeah, Jessica Hole. She's ex-Oregon Duck. She ran out there in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon. Now she runs for she obviously competes for Australia, but she's another one of the athletes from the collegiate system. But to answer your question, Will, until I watched the men's 4 hurdles final, now that it did not matter that there was no crowd there, mate. That was absolutely bonkers. And I'm referring to Carson Williams' world record where he ran 45 94 to win the gold medal. That was just blew my mind. But I did think that before the games. For me personally, when I won Commonwealth Games at the G, there was 90,000 people. When I hit the curve and made my move, I heard the crowd roar, and I felt
that's what I'm saying.
The back of my hair stood up in the race. It was the most peculiar feeling I ever had in my whole career. But you know, when you step to a championships, a lot creeps in. You know, the devil becomes active in the brain. It trying to tell you that you're not good enough. And the biggest thing you learn through your pro career is executing and sticking to the plan and working how to give yourself positive affirmations leading out throughout the day. Because that's what you do. The whole day you're sitting around waiting for this race, and it's so much time for you to cook yourself. It's just really, really easy. So you work through your coach. I used to keep good people around me that I could laugh with. I had a good team of people around that I could joke around and take my mind off things. I used to watch other events and get the juice off of them when I'm waiting at the games. And then by the time I used to have all my stuff laid out on a couch or on my bed, so I knew that there was one less thing I had to think about. So I had everything packed neatly. So I didn't have to worry, where's my bodysuit? Where's my spikes? I knew where they all were. I could then jump on the bus. I could then put my headphones on, listen to music. And then I just stick to one thing, and that's executing. I'd have my race plan written down in my pocket, which would everything I wanted to do within the race. So I have 6 key points on what I wanted to achieve in the race. So that way I always stayed focused to my goal. I knew this was my office. And that's what I used to tell myself, you've done this a million times before, it's your office. This is when you have to deliver. And we practice this day in, day out in training, all these procedures, how I walked to the start line, how I jumped before I got into the blocks, what I said when I was in the blocks, where I put my hands down and which hand went down first. So when I got into that position, it became a position of comfortability, but a position of normality, right? I didn't feel like a fish out of water. I could actually focus on my lane and do exactly what I did every day at training, which then gave me the confidence. As soon as that gun went off, all I focused on was my first step. I nailed the first step. I focused on my second step. And you understand then, because I had all my goals I had to focus on. And that's something we teach now. Even when you're working with ball sports, it's no different. Every phase is different. Every time you pick up and you work on all those little things which add up to give you be more consistent as a player or as a runner. And the more consistency you have, the bigger bandwidth the results you get. It's very simple. It's not that hard.
Mate, one thing, you mentioned the 400 hurdles, and it was a phenomenal race. I noticed in the press afterwards, Ray Benjamin obviously ran second. The winner has come out and said that he's got an issue with the spikes that he's wearing, with these new Nike spikes. If you remember sort of 15 years ago, all the swimmers and can all the world wear those super suits because they were considered to be, they were unfair. Is there a danger for the athletics associations that these spikes are going to start to create the same sort of issues, or do you not see it as a big problem?
So it was a huge problem, and I'm pretty close to the boss of Puma in Germany, and he was explaining to me about the fight they had with the World Athletics, who used to be known as the IAAF, which is the governing body of track and field around these spikes. So a lot of the other shoe companies are dirty because they're going, mate, Nike have got the jump on us with the technology. So what I think will happen is either the other shoe brands will match the technology and use the blueprint of Nike, or World Athletics will step in and say, we're not going to use those spikes anymore. This happened back in 2004. Nike brought out, if you're familiar with Nike shoes, there's a Nike pair of shoes, they're called the Boings, and they got like little springs at the back of them.
Yeah.
They look like the Nike TNs, but they've got 4 little shocks in the back. They actually made
have the Boings with the spikes. Wow.
Yeah. And
that's an advantage.
And they ended up throwing those spikes and not allowing athletes to compete in them. So I know there was a lot of conjecture around these spikes, but I don't think they're going to not ratify world records. It was interesting hearing Carsten Warm talk about those spikes because he's obviously a Puma athlete, and he smashed the world record by 0.8 of a second. Rai Benjamin smashed the world record by 0.5 of a second. A Brazilian young 21-year-old kid broke the world record by 0.4 of a second. Now, if I put that in perspective, the greatest of all times before Kevin Young was Edwin Moses, the great Edwin Moses. Before the baby boomers on that listening to this show will know who damn well Edwin Moses was. He was undefeated for 10 years. Kevin Young was a phenom who broke the world record in Barcelona and ran a time which looked like video game times, which we thought never would be broken. 3 athletes in the final ran under Kevin Young's world record. So 3 athletes automatically are better than 2 of the greatest of all times. We're talking Larry Bird and Magic Johnson when you talk Edwin Moses and Kevin Young in the 4 hurdles. So it was absolutely bonkers. And if I put that time in perspective for you, what Carsten Warholm ran is the equivalent of Usain Bolt running 8.9 seconds for 100 meters. That's how quick that 4 hurdles was. So it's video game times. It was bonkers. It is probably the performance. We thought Usain running the world record was something that we would not see in our lifetime. This is something we will not see in our lifetime.
It's funny though, because I've never seen a bloke who won complain about the equipment of a bloke who came second. So maybe it's a Puma thing. Maybe he's on the payroll. He's just towing.
Puma's on a warpath, man. Puma's on a warpath.
Well, no, Puma. Shout out to Puma, by the way. They're coming with it both on and off the track. But no, I think more. Carsten was more talking about. Imagine if I had those Nike spikes. They are great technology. We saw Eliud Kipchoge. I could be wrong here. Eliud. Well, I always know him as Eliud. Break the 2-hour marathon mark in Berlin when they set up that time for him to break the 2-hour marathon. So, and he was wearing the similar shoes, but the flats, the running flats, which had like a cushion spring in the forefoot. So where the advantage is, for those that don't know what we're talking about, the running spike that they designed for Nike has like a cushion / spring that's in the forefoot. The forefoot of your foot, if those that don't know their anatomy, is from the tip of your big toe to the middle of your foot. That's your forefoot. And that's the ideal place to strike when you're sprinting or running, especially even when you're doing middle distance and even when you're doing distance running, you sort of strike from the midfoot all the way to the forefoot to the front of your foot, pushing off the big toe. And what Nike have done, they put this nice spring right by where your foot hits in the forefoot. And they're saying that this is causing a bounce spring effect, allowing the athletes to be able to turn over a lot quicker and better because the contact time on the ground is a lot quicker because of the spring. So this is where all the conjectures come from with these Nike spikes. There's no other spike has that. It's just normally a very stiff, flat plate, very stiff, flat spike plate, which sits underneath the spike.
Do you reckon, I think this is, in terms of track and field events, I think this has definitely been one of our most successful Olympics, because you look at Matt Denny coming 4th in the discus. We've done well. Brandon Stark came 5th, I think, in the high jump. So there's probably been a better sort of, we've got athletes making the finals. Peter Bowl obviously runs later tonight in the 800. We really have done extremely well across track and field, which traditionally has been the swimmers usually come out and win a lot of medals, and then the track and field athletes probably don't perform the same way. I reckon this has been one of our best ones, Johnny.
Yeah, I called it before the games. Anytime I get interviewed, they always ask me, how do you think the track and field team's going to go? And I made it very clear it was a very young team, and we have to mark our athletes accordingly in track and field, not mark it against swimming. So I took the piss on Sunrise. I'm doing Sunrise every morning, doing the preview and review of the track and field. And I said the other day, because they had swimmers on there, and I said, for every track and field medal, that's 4.25 gold medals when it comes to swimming. And I got this shit too. But it is true. The whole world runs. There was a statistic that in the first 4 days, 24 countries won a medal in track and field. In the whole swimming carnival, only 20 countries won a medal in the whole carnival of swimming. So that shows you that it is the world. If you want to talk about it, the world sport is track and field. Everybody can run. You don't need much. You don't need many resources. So that's what makes it extremely difficult to compete at a world level like this. The Australian team, you're quite right here. I mean, the amount of finals we made, the amount of semi-finals we made as a team collectively, it shows that moving forward, we're increasing our ability to win medals, right? We're increasing. Look,
of course,
you've got to make the final. You give yourself 3 in 8 chance to win a medal. That's your first goal. Make the final. So if you're making a semi-final, you can obviously the projection where you should be going looks very good for you.
Yeah,
hey John,
well, mate,
just say let's rewind. Just say 2004. Just say COVID is in Athens in 2004. You've just won silver, everything like that, and they go, all right. come home to Australia, 14 days quarantine. What are you thinking? Can't party, can't do anything, can't see your family, can't do anything. Has Australia got some sort of like players equal to a players association in the NRL or anything like where they can just go, why couldn't they have a word with the Australian government and go, look, we're not Novak Djokovic, we're not asking for this and that. Why can't you just put us in some sort of like a resort and go, here, have a good time. You deserve this. We're going to chill for you 14 days, do whatever. These guys are getting treated like prisoners. It's unbelievable.
Right.
Can you imagine John Stephenson coming home 2004 going, hey, enjoy quarantine. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's this. This is a whole nother podcast talking about the effects that the COVID's having on sport. You look, the Australian team had a scare with Sam Kendricks testing positive from America in the pole vault, and Sam was training with an Australian pole vaulter. That Australian pole vaulter went into the village, hung around other Australians, had to shut down the whole team for 24 hours. Everybody got tested, and it was play on. So that was very strange for me that there was no quarantining for 14 days once you were in close contact with somebody that had the test in the game. So there's certain rules in the games, and now they got back into the Australian rules of 2 weeks quarantine.
Unbelievable.
Don't get it. Don't understand it. Don't get it. I don't understand why the AOC hasn't stepped in. I thought they were putting them up in Cairns in a special holding bubble where they'll be able to get around, and because essentially everybody that's on that plane,
they can sit next to each other. They can sit next to each other on the plane, but they can't hang out.
Well. Essentially, the Australian team had a holding camp in Cairns, and they were all together there, in a bubble camp. I just think maybe it's poor admin. Why they haven't done that coming home.
It is.
I think maybe people didn't think that far ahead because they didn't know if the games was going to go on. But yeah, I'd be filthy, mate. To be honest, I want to. This is the prime time that you make money in your sport. I feel so sorry for these athletes. I think it's going to be really, really hard for them to. Normally, you come home, you do the media circuit if you want a medal. After that, you do the socialite circuit. After you do that,
and you've got 2 weeks. It's pretty much 2 weeks.
Yeah,
you nail it. I just feel
you've got to do all these things to build your brand, and they're going to miss out on that. It's an absolute shit show, So lucky they have got social media where they can promote their brands. You've seen athletes go from 5,000 followers to 30, 40,000 followers overnight because they have that medium now. So, but yeah, it's very different landscape, Willie, and I don't have the answer to your question, but it's
I didn't want. I just wanted to see like how disappointed would you be? That's all I want to know. COVID is a whole other it's a whole other conversation, but I just don't think they deserve this. Australia government should have done better by these guys. They had to sacrifice 5 years, and now they get treated like this. It's unbelievable.
Speaking of building your brand, I know you are a man in great demand, and the athletics has started. So for everyone who's listening, we're actually going live, and the 1500s are on there. It's all happening. I'm trying
to watch it in the reflection.
Yeah, I know. We'll let you go, Johnny.
I can see you looking, mate. I really appreciate you being on the show. It's been it's wonderful as always to talk to you, and hearing your insights on the Olympics has been fantastic, mate. So thanks again, and mate, anyone who's out there who thinks that they know how to run, I'll tell you what, talk to John Stephenson and you'll work out pretty quickly you don't.
All right, easy guys. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Johnny. And you can find all my stuff on there. So yeah, look forward to speaking to you guys again, and look after yourselves.
Oh, man.
Go Peter Bowl.
Hey, before we go for bettingsite.com.au, if you want a special, Uncle Steph's got a special for you in the men's 5K tomorrow. That's Mohammed Katur. He should win the 5K tomorrow. He looked outstanding. I also got a special tonight in the women's I love it. 3,000. Is the favorite. She will be the favorite. Her name is on the top of my head because I just wrote it. Yes. Give me a second. Anyway, I'll text it through to you, Willie. You can tell
she's going to be the favorite.
She will be the favorite. And if you want to throw a little multi in there, you're going to go Noah Lyles to medal, not to win. Noah Lyles to medal, or DeGrasse to medal, into the Dominican Republic girl in semi-final #1 in the women's 400. That'll give you odds of maybe $2. I think $2.20. I think it'll give you odds. Nice. And yeah, put some cash on that for your bettingsites.com.au.
Yeah, all right, man.
Thanks, mate. And we're the only ones without Yamaha headphones, but I tell you what, they're going to send you a special pair of Yamaha headphones as well, just for being on the show. So thanks again, Johnny. Take
All
care,
right,
mate.
mate.
See you soon.
See you, Johnny.
All right, guys. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
See you, mate. There we go, Will. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it's always
there
a
is
pleasure talking to
nothing-
John, mate. He's a legend.
And listening to someone who has actually been there and done it, it's fascinating to hear about, because there is a lot of hype about Rowan Browning, and it makes sense. You know, there's a lot to go when it comes to actually making a long career out of athletics. So, William, let's move to rugby league.
Yuck.
For anyone listening to Johnny Stephenson's tests as well, make sure that you gamble responsibly, thanks to bettingsite.com.au. That's responsible because you've just been told by an Olympian who's going to win. So that is the most responsible gambling of all time. Mate, let's start quickly with one of the things that probably got you worked up over the weekend. Two of the serial sort of chirpers in the rugby league world are Dylan Walker and Will Chambers. Those two came together in a game, Manly versus Cronulla on the weekend, and it was actually pretty funny to watch, just seeing two blokes just ripping into each other.
I think it was just a one-way street, really.
Yeah, Walker didn't have much to say back. What do you think, in terms of sledging, William, do you think that anything is off limits when you're on the field?
No, not when you've allegedly done some low shit like Dylan Walker. Will Chambers is a stand-up man. He's a man. And I'm surprised a lot of players haven't put his head on a platter. So they used to say, like, every single week for what he's allegedly done. You know what I mean? So, Will Chambers has probably been sitting over in Japan the last couple of years and just wanting to kill this dude for what he's allegedly done. You know what I mean? So what I saw on the weekend, I had to tweet it because I knew what was going on, because he could lip read.
You didn't have to be a genius.
He didn't have to be a genius. He's saying, I'm not going to quote. He goes, you bashed your missus. He goes, what's it like trying to get, it's not playing PlayStation now. You bashed your missus, you dog, C word, everything like under the sun. And the commentators probably didn't pick up on it because they were thinking, oh, wow, Will Chambers is just out of, it's, you're getting beat by 30. It wasn't good timing, but when do you time it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised a lot of players haven't gone for his head and just tried to tear it off every single game, because I know if I was playing, it'd be straight on the ground. And I know everybody in our team would be doing the exact same thing. So I'm so proud of Will Chambers for what he did. I think everyone else should do it every single week.
Yeah, look, it is funny because Chambers ended up getting hooked. I mean, I don't know whether it was because he was getting so fired up and they were worried.
No, he was. He just had to take him out of that. You just had to take him out of that stuff. But that's it. He's a man. He's a man's man. He would never do anything like that to a woman. And he stood up. He stood up for what is right. Regardless of how you look at it, he stood up for what is right. I don't give a shit what they say in the papers and stuff like that. He's a low prick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Will Chambers obviously took it pretty personally, so he probably feels the same way you do. And you've obviously been extremely strong, not just on the show, but on the SBS program. You can't say that. And, it's something that you strongly believe in. And this isn't a new stance for you, William, and I'm proud of you for having it.
No, do not care. It shouldn't be in our game.
Speaking of things that probably shouldn't have happened, it looks as if the men's rugby sevens team, I know this is off rugby league for a moment, but it's sort of an Olympics theme. They've got on the drink after they lost basically every game. Let's be honest. They haven't exactly, like, if you're going to carry on like an imbecile, at least
win a goal back.
Win something. Do something. Don't just lose 2 games and then get pumped in the quarters. But they've come home, they've destroyed the athletes' village, and then they've been on the plane and they've carried on like a pack of imbeciles on the plane too. And all of a sudden now, rugby union's in the spotlight for a rugby league style incident. What is wrong with these people?
They'll be preying on someone breaking the bubble in league.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I'll be going, where's Jai Arrow? Where's Paul Vaughan? Bring in someone out.
Where's your Instagram, Appy?
Come on, man. Yeah, man, that's pretty poor form, especially from when you hear reports and that when they say trash the village, I mean, I want to see photos. I want to see some proof. Trash has been probably leaving 1 beer can. You know what I mean? That's how they can say that. I'm not sure. When you say trash, are they trash?
I think one bloke's crash tackled another bloke straight through a wall, that comes under the banner of trashed. No one took
Yeah,
a
I'd
shit
say
in the
so.
hall.
You know,
You know,
yeah,
there's no one's got an Albert sitting in the on the
yeah,
bed, but there's
yeah. I mean, just probably the most, disappointing thing is the stuffing up on the plane. You know, that's pretty poor from union standards. You represent Australia. It's an Olympic team. You didn't win, first of all. They excuse you when you do win. Somehow you always get, let through. But when you're on the plane, when you got other people around, it's totally different
they're
in
on a
your own
commercial
room.
flight. They're
Yeah,
on
I
a
know. It's
commercial flight.
totally different when you're in your own room and you're mucking around and shit just gets like that. There's no other people there. If they say trashed, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, you're tackling people through walls. It's not like they got, beer bottles and just threw them everywhere. It was nothing like that. So I don't believe the reports like that, but I believe, someone got tackled through a wall. I've seen it happen before. And, I've seen people do things in hallways. I've seen a lot of shit. Pardon the pun. I've seen a lot of that stuff, but, yeah, just probably the carrying on the plane. That's just enough. You just don't do that. And that's up to leadership groups. They got to come in, the people, the coach, everyone like that. They're very accountable there. Of course, the players are the number one. They need to be accountable for everything. So, hey, cop the repercussions. Don't fuck up. It's just, you can't do that.
You've spent 3 months trying to get home. They've only got a certain amount of flights. You walk on the plane. There's 49 Olympians full of drink. You'd be going, how good's this? They've stolen the drinks tray.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, these guys have been under so much pressure trying to get to the Olympics, the amount of pressure. And then once they decompress, that's when shit gets wild. I'm not sure how there's no blueprint to go, oi, all right, guys, this is how you act, because there's young kids, there's older kids, there's people in the middle. And as I said, like, they had good leadership in the team, that wouldn't happen. But it is what it is. I mean, they didn't like that. Well, they do that. They're just really disrespectful to the people.
I've heard some whispers that the I don't know about the plane. I've heard some whispers that the village stuff was pretty average, but look, you don't know until it all comes out. They're all doing investigations.
Yeah,
someone will do something stupid, by the end, and then everyone will forget about it. It's just nice for rugby league not to be the worst rugby code for once.
Ever.
They're up. All right, quickly, God. Will. Rugby League World Cup's been postponed because obviously Australia and New Zealand pulled out, so they've pushed it back. They kind of had to, but I still like the idea of having, Tonga, Samoa, an Indigenous side. That sounded to me like a pretty good. If the players wanted to play,
they were behind it.
Yeah.
Cody Walker and a lot of the leaders of the Indigenous boys, they come out and said they'd love to play. So they would have got knocked on the head by the ARL. They would not allow it. So it would have went above their head, and the Maori team as well. So I think that's what they were looking for. And they got their way because it's Australia and New Zealand.
It's the fat cats. It's the fat cats, Will. Do you know another word for fat? Do you know another word for fat cats?
No.
Big boys.
Big boy.
Nice. Willie's big boy.
Anyway, the big boys were on fire on the weekend, especially two of them. My number one point's going to Jacob Saifidi. He somehow pushed David Klemmer out of the Newcastle Knights team as a starting prop. I know Clem got injured, but Jacob's been there and he's been starting there for about 3 or 4 weeks. While Clem was out, Clem's come back off the bench, but he's been doing a magnificent job. I think on the weekend you played against Canberra. It was a must win. So this is obviously, if you follow Willie's big boys, I go on what sort of pack you're playing, what sort of position you are on the table, what sort of team shows up. Canberra had to win to stay in the 8. So they had everything to play for. And so did Newcastle. So it was a semi-final sort of play. And I watched that game very closely. And like Kalen Ponga was outstanding. What he did. And Chuala, the winger, was outstanding. But it was set in the middle. It was like Jacob Saifidi was just on fire. He was just running great lines. And his brother's got 2 points, Daniel Saifidi. Like the work that they did was outstanding. I think Jacob played few more minutes, maybe close to 60 minutes in the middle. And I think Daniel played probably about 45 to 50 minutes in the middle. And it was hard yakka in there, mate. And it was a really expansive game. So the middles were very fatigued. So they had to come up, they had to move back because Canberra were playing they were direct sometimes, but they were moving the ball. I think I tweeted about it. It was like very expansive game. So I know the middles, they try and blow the middles out by moving shift for shift for shift. So the middles are coming up. They're not even tackling, but they're coming up and they're moving so many. So you're probably doing about a 400-meter sprint in a set of 6. It's ridiculous. Up, back, sideways. And they try and fatigue your legs like that. But these two boys were stuck in the middle there. Got some good minutes out and some really good meters. Both, I think, above, over 130 meters, about 14, 15 touches each, 30 tackles. Effectiveness was great. Post-contact meters was great. But my 3 points has gone to Payne Haas. Simply because I know how hard that game is. Even though they're both sitting at the wrong end of the table, Cowboys and Broncos is like a semi-final game up there. It is. I played in one of them when I was at the Cowboys, and regardless of where they're sitting at the table, that clash, that local derby is pretty heavy. And that's why it was a close game. The Cowboys showed up, but Payne Haas, he's so hard to tackle. Like he's just, what is he, 6'4", about 110 kilos. Like he can run a sub 5 for 40 meters. Like his meters and his motor are unbelievable. He just doesn't stop. Like he's easily it's probably him, James Fisher-Harris is the two best at the moment in the world, I reckon.
In the universe.
No wonder the Broncos want to sign him on a 10-year deal.
Well, Taumalolo, they signed him. Payne Haas is younger than Taumalolo. They'd sign him on a young... Yeah. They'd be coming out front, I reckon. So the leaderboard now has got Payne Haas on 19 votes. We've got James Fisher-Harris, who's given a couple of games up for the birth of his child. He's on 17, and Junior Paulo is on 13. I'll tell you what, I hadn't thought about this. As we have said many times, and thank you very much to Young Henry's anti-Bondi Tonys. We've got the beers here going. The Young Henry's, it is a very, very good drop. The Saifidi brothers should have got together and said, we're a half a chance combining our points in the big boys, and then we'll get a slab a week of Young Henry's and a burger, and they could have shared the burger and the chips. That's silly.
But if it's still lockdown, they're not getting anything. We're going to probably eat it. They're in Newcastle.
We're eating the whole thing. One thing as well, Bondi Tonys is, all the people down in Bondi are doing a bit tough, and there's a lot of people going around and trying to drink margaritas, and it's affecting people's licenses down there.
What are they doing? What are they doing? There's this gang on a Wednesday or a Friday. This margarita is it a martini gang? Like going
margaritas, yeah. And it's literally, it's affecting people's licenses. So if
what a bunch of wankers.
It's ridiculous.
Like if you're in that
and I've
group,
seen
get out of it.
Yeah,
like come
just
on,
drink
man.
at home.
Like what are you doing? Drink at home. Be responsible and drink at home.
Unless you're drinking Young Henry's, you gamble responsibly. Drink like a lunatic. Young Henry.
Pretty pathetic, but that's pretty pathetic from those blokes. Who do they think they are?
They think they're us. So,
not
unfortunately, Harry's not with us tonight because Harry's wife was expecting a baby, and expectation has come through with the goods. And his lovely wife has had a little girl, Elise May. So congratulations to Harry and his beautiful wife. We're ecstatic for you, mate.
Well done. Yeah.
We can't win a bet. So, but unfortunately,
so everything was awful last week again. Oh, you know who killed me? Canberra.
Oh, Canberra killed all of us.
If Canberra won, I think my multi gets up. We win $800.
And mine. And I tell you what, if I could have been in the room with Ricky Stewart in the dressing room after the game, I don't think I probably would have been quite as hurtful as what Ricky Stewart was, but I would have gone close.
Yeah, I think Ricky would have been absolutely filthy. As I said, that's why the two brothers got the points in the big boys, because look how much they had to play for. Like they had a heap to play for, and Ricky's probably just thinking, what am I doing wrong?
So my bet this week, I've gone the Knights, the Storm, and the Titans straight out, and then I've gone the Wallabies with a 20.5 start because cannot see them getting beaten by 20
Sorry, the
points.
producer, he just messaged me. The producer's bet's still alive anyway. So we'll see if someone wins badminton or fencing or something.
Yeah, no, because do you know why he's excited? Because he backed someone at $6.50, and then the bloke that was the favourite or the girl that was a favourite got knocked out, and they've come in from $6.50 to $1 something. So now he thinks he's a genius. Let me tell you, the way he's bet all year, that they'll break
our luck is
break
awful.
an ankle. Yeah. What are
So
you
what was
got,
your
William?
one? What was your one again? Sorry.
I've gone Knights, Storm, Titans all head to head, and Wallabies with 20.5 start against the All Blacks.
Wow, that's nice. Anyway, I got Josh Mansell anytime try scorer, Manly 12.5 with the line. The line Manly 12.5. St George Illawarra the line 10.5, and Knights and Broncos 50.5 over. That's what I'm going.
There'll be plenty of points in that game. That's good. There'll be plenty of points.
Yeah.
The producer. I don't even know what this means. Essendon something, Archie Perkins. I don't know who that is. Peter Wright. These are.
What are you doing?
I don't even know what this means. If you want to know what the producers bet, then have a look on all of our social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It'll be on there. I don't know what it means. Harry has gone Rabbitohs 13+, Storm 13+, Titans 13+, and his daughter to have her mum as the favourite parent, which is paying $1.01. So no, Harry, I'm sure you'll be second favourite, but he's gone 13+. So thanks once again to bettingsite.com.au. We are woeful this year. We still got 3,500 in the kitty, and we're going to get everybody to send in their things very soon. But for now, we need to start winning. So
yeah, I'm going to stop mucking around now. Just like get some real winners in there, you know.
Yeah, mucking around. That's what you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Please, everyone, gamble responsibly. All right, William. In terms of tips, you read your tips out for me.
Hang on, they're way back here. Sorry, guys. Knights, Raiders, Souths, Cronulla, Panthers, Storm, Bulldogs, and Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what? In news just to hand, I've got $4.11 with Ladbrokes. You've got $9.61. The producer's got $8.99 with Ladbrokes, and Harold's bet is $9.02 with Bet365. So there's some cash there if any of those get up. They probably won't because we're awful. And it's been horrific. All right, William, that concludes the show. I tell you what, it's been wonderful having Johnny Steph on there. And honestly, he is wonderful in terms of coaching. So if anyone who's wants to be a professional athlete or is currently a professional athlete needs to work on their skills, get involved.
Yeah, he's brilliant, mate. He makes it look easy. He's a good dude. Yeah, one of the best.
And the only other thing that I think we need to mention is rate, review, subscribe. We need you to do that. The other thing is for Handshake Agency, which is the agency that runs our show, they have also had a big result with Rewind the Music Doc. That's been #1 on Apple and Spotify. So congratulations to the podcast.com.au and to Craig and all of that. And also Zig, who is, we mention him a lot, but we don't mention him enough because he's a terrific human and he does a lot for this show. Yamaha's come on board as a sponsor. So Zig's going to get a brand new studio out of this, which we will benefit from. Hopefully when we
make a rap album.
I'd be New Vanilla Ice. I can come out, collaborate and listen with me. So Steph's going to get a set of headphones thanks to Yamaha. Zig's getting a new studio. It's all happening here. Yeah. Thank you. I'm getting a motorbike. And I'm getting, what else do Yamaha make? I'm getting one of them. Yeah. Everything Yamaha makes, I'm getting because I'm more important than you. See you next week, William.
See you later.
Bye.
I'll be following Willie more and more. Gentlemen, back in the NRL as Willie Mason.
I've forgotten how big Willie actually is.
Perhaps the presence of Willie.
1 hour.
And the Panthers looking at his imposing frame.
I'm a 25-minute man. Oh, you got skill, son.
Uppercut right hand by Big Willie.
Too fancy for you.
You've been listening to The Take with Willie Mason and co-host Ian Byrne. Produced by Craig Trewick, recorded and engineered by Zig Parker of Green Room Sydney, and presented by the Handshake Media Network.